am I getting into?
Some of the problems in biodiversity are deforestation, species endangerment, and pollution that all detract from the biodiversity of this Earth. Through the biodiversity present on this planet, there have been thousands of breakthroughs in science and medicine, as well as economic boosts to countries that implement biotourism. Most importantly, biodiversity provides us with critical resources and a beautiful planet.
Biodiversity is the variety of species, their genetic makeup, and the natural communities in which they occur. Biodiversity recognizes the genetic diversity that exists within species, as well as the diversity of the entire habitats and ecosystems. Species today are going extinct at an accelerated and dangerous rate. Extinction is a natural part of life, but the accelerated rate it is occurring at is caused by the non-natural environmental changes caused by human activities. Some of these activities include habitat loss, overexploitation, and spread of non-native species/diseases. Other activities that have indirect effects but are of concern are climate change and pollution. These are all threats to biodiversity.
The earliest large-scale conference regarding biodiversity in the United Nations occurred in Stockholm, Sweden from June 5th to 16th in 1972.
During this conference, the group developed the Declaration of the United Nations Conference on Human Development. This declaration paved the way for increased discussion and interest in the protection and conservation of species. In 1992, in Rio de Janeiro, the Convention on Biological Diversity was opened for signing. Its main goal was to implement sustainable development. This was considered a game changer in the fight for biological preservation.
For such a small nation, which is 0.2% of the world's surface, Belize has a very high biodiversity that includes an abundance of terrestrial and marine ecosystems that give it a very important stance in the Mesoamerican biological corridor. However, there are a number of natural issues, some caused by humans, which are a detriment to this biodiversity, including a high deforestation rate. Increasing incursions by illegal Guatemalan immigrants into Belize forests and protected areas for farming, hunting, and harvesting non-timber forest products have become acute in recent years. In addition, there are waste management issues all throughout the country. Rapid coastal development has also contributed to issues concerning biodiversity in Belize. There is increasing poverty. Currently, 33% of Belize's 300,000 people are below the poverty line. Consequently, these people are forced to rely on subsistence agriculture, where they slash and burn forests. In Belize, there are weak institutional and legal frameworks put in place that lack financial resources and personnel to enforce regulations. Finally, the recent discovery of crude oil has put marine resources under very significant threat. These are the issues pertaining to biodiversity.
In Australia, the Great Barrier Reef is the only living organic collective visible from the Earth's orbit. The Great Barrier Reef off the east coast of Australia is one of the wonders of the natural world, and it is the world's largest coral reef ecosystem. It was declared a World Heritage Area in 1981 and was added to the National Heritage List in 2007. Human activity in the reef areas has led to increased pollutants, and the reef has suffered damage. Protecting the reef is the responsibility of the Marine Park Authority. In 2003, the previous Australian government and Queensland governments, in partnership with a wide range of industry and community groups, developed the Reef Water Quality Protection Reef Act, the Reef Plan, as a combined effort to protect the reef. Of particular concern is the wetlands in Australia, which have decreased by over 50% since European settlement in Australia. The Great Barrier Reef Coastal Wetlands Protection Program is developing measures for the long-term conservation and management of priority wetlands. The Philippines is the second largest archipelago, made up of 7,100 islands, second in line from Indonesia. In the Philippines, there are over 1,137 bird, mammal, and amphibian species which are endemic to the country. Endemic means that the Philippines is the only place in the world where these species exist. 592 of those 1,137 species are considered threatened or endangered by the United Nations. 38 species of mammals, 215 species of birds, 51 species of reptiles, 26 species of amphibians, and over 1,000 species of plants are native to the Philippines. But the illegal logging, illegal fishing, and waste dumping has contributed to a loss of biodiversity in the Philippines. Forest cover in the Philippines has decreased by 56% since the post-war period, meaning since 1945. The Philippines eagle is another species most at risk from deforestation. In the 1930s, an estimated 10,000 Philippine eagles were soaring over the forests. Due to deforestation, there are only 63 eagles left, 16 are in captivity, and 47 have been spotted in the wild. Due to deforestation, this monkey-eating eagle is not found anywhere else in the world. Additionally, mangrove forests in the Philippines have declined by 50 square kilometers per year. Palawan, a province in the Philippines, has at least 1,500 species of flowering plants alone, but at least 225 species of it are endemic to the area.
Japan contains about 90,000 confirmed species, with unclassified species adding up to 300,000 in total. It has a high amount of marine life, there being 50 out of 102 underwater mammal species and 3,700 out of 15,000 species of marine fish. The earthquake that happened on March 11th last year could greatly impact the biodiversity of Japan, as well as the effect of the nuclear reactor that broke.
With only 0.03% of the planet's surface area, Costa Rica is home to more than 500,000 species of plants and animals, nearly 5% of the world's species. There are 11 conservation areas throughout Costa Rica, and a little over 25% of the country's territory is under some category of protection. In the last 5 years, there has been a greater emphasis on the economic and social benefits of protected areas.
In attaining biodiversity, steps need to be taken towards developing accountable decision-making frameworks and institutions that are able to govern ecosystem and natural resource use. Steps also need to be taken towards developing sound development policies that address biodiversity loss, building leadership and skills within institutions responsible for biodiversity management, including economic sector institutions that influence how biodiversity is used, testing and adapting resource use management on the ground to transform economic production patterns and activities so as to avoid, reduce, or offset the threats they pose to biodiversity.